Hello everybody, I am Dahi. Have you ever wondered how mind-blowing animation, stunning illustrations, and cinematic visual effect actually get made? Hi, don't wait, watch now.
Hi, good morning everyone, or good afternoon, or good day, wherever you are. Welcome back to our second episode of the Creative Webinar Series. I'm your host, Marcus, and joined with me today are two amazing people, one from the video games industry, and then the other one who is a lecturer slash, special effects artist or
animation supervisor.
Animation supervisor. So today we are going to be talking about unpacking blockbuster production or maybe even video games production, right? And what goes on behind the scenes in the animation and illustration industry. All right, so here we're going to be breaking down certain iconic movies or video games, but at the same time we're also going to be learning a lot more about like how the animation and illustration industry works behind the scenes. So at least we'll give a bit of insight to you guys on what the career path is like. So without further ado, can you please introduce yourself to the audience, starting with you, my good sir.
Cool. My name is Siew Hong. I'm a lead concept artist working in the industry for about close to 12 years. I'm also partly an educator, so I teach as a guest lecturer for 4.5 years. And I also, now I have a little bit of my own school. It's sort of like an accelerator program called Digital Blacksmith School. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay, and you yourself, sir?
Hi, my name is Kento. I've been in this industry for about more than 20 over years. I'm an animation supervisor out there, but also working as a lecturer in Dasein. Yeah, and we are still working on some animation production right now.
So you guys have been long in the field. Usually people in the creative field have half dead faces, but you guys have glowing faces.
We're almost half dead.
You guys are very handsome today. Anyways, moving on, I just want to know what inspired you guys to join in this particular field, whether it be in the films or maybe in video games. What inspired you in general?
In my past year, long time ago, I was actually first inspired by a video game called Final Fantasy. Ooh. Yeah, it was my favorite game last time, very many years ago, right? When I played the game, it actually inspired me and it made me want to join into this industry. And then later on, when I joined this industry, and then the next move is that when I saw a movie called The Incredibles by the Brad Bird. Right, that movie actually inspired me in the second time to makes me want to decide to be an animator. Yeah, so that's how I entered this industry.
Which Final Fantasy are you interested in?
I started from FF7.
Oh, that's the best one.
Yeah, that's the best one. Yeah.
How about yourself?
How do I get started? My path is a little bit go with the flow kind of thing. So I didn't know about the game industry. I didn't know about the movie industry when I was young. I just know I want to draw something as I grew up. So I thought comic was the first route to go. I entered college and I realized that, okay, comic doesn't sound like, it doesn't look really good for me to try because I don't like to draw the same thing over and over again. So somehow I stumbled upon concept art, and then that's how I got into games. And I love playing games. I played games when I was I think 7 years old. The youngest I remember, it was Red Alert. Counter-Strikes, what else? StarCraft, right?
But yes, those are very old games.
Yeah. So I think what really caught my attention was this game called Dead Space. So the whole art direction of the game was something that really blew my mind because they just use one word to describe the game, which is a ribcage. So everything in the game is designed based on a ribcage. So that kind of caught my attention. It's like, oh, I want to do that. That's kind of cool.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. This just from one word, you guys can they're able to design. Oh, I didn't know that. That's actually a very fun piece of trivia for all you gamers out there. Dead Space is a great game. If you haven't played it, play it.
Yes.
Anyways, so how did you guys get into the game industry in the first place? You guys talked about your background, but how did you actually step into it, or the film industry?
How do we step into it? I guess this is a bit more of what's the requirement, right? Is that the question? I would say a good portfolio is important. That's the baseline. But with the current industry, the current time, I think who you know is very important as well. The networking, Do you know anyone within the company, or even like any reference that you have within the company that you want to apply to? I think after that is also personality, your drive as a designer, as an artist. If you're just in for the money, sorry to say, it's not it. It's really not it.
Yes.
Money will come. Don't worry, money will come. It's just that if you're in for the money at the beginning, I don't think it will go so very well for you. So yeah, I think portfolio, the drive, and also networking.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the same answer. Yeah. It shares the same thing as in the animation industry. Yeah, this is how we get into the industry. So of course, definitely is a portfolio. That's how I actually enter, because initially I study in Singapore, and then I get into graphic designing, and then later on slowly I build up the CG animation demo reel, and then I send it out to the industry, and then I get a job. Yeah, that's how I entered into this industry.
Okay, very interesting how you guys got into it. Another thing, like how is it like working in the like animations industry, like whether it be video games or for film? Like, what's the kind of misconception or maybe something that you'd like to, share to the audience about the video games or the films industry?
Misconception. I would think that a lot of people, they think that animation industry is just about doing animation and one button clicking and then the animation just come out. So this is one of the biggest misconceptions that a lot of people out there. I don't blame them because a lot of people never get educated about this industry. So everyone's think that animation is just, probably it's just a few drawings and then one button and then the character will be just come out as lively. But it actually requires a long journey of hard work and a lot of a journey of teamwork as well to make sure that all this thing is actually put into all these slots before the final work you can see in a movie. For example, in Pixar, one movie, usually you will see a Pixar movie is released every year, right? Actually, the whole production, it requires about 3 to 4 years. And it actually just working simultaneously. So this 3 to 4 years is really a long time for them, right? I'm not sure about this AI era right now, but in the previous, our pipeline is actually requires this long, and it actually has to make sure that everything has to be done well before this whole movie is come out as a whole. Yeah, it's not really that easy. So that's why I might need to let the people out there to know that a movie is not just created in just one click. There's no such as one click. So whoever want to look for a job or find someone to help you to do some job in design industry or even movie industry or even game industry, yeah, you need to know all this knowledge. You need to know that they actually put a lot of effort. So you don't just ask them, okay, it's so easy lah. You just help me do one design, and then I just belanja you one copy all. I don't think that works.
I feel like one copy O for maybe a concept art is too cheap already.
What, too cheap? That it requires like 5,000 copy all.
What about the video games industry? How is it? How is it like? Are the processes similar or?
Games and movies are a little bit, so movies, from what I understand, they are a little bit more waterfall system, but games can be like, okay, you have a prototype, you model everything, you build everything, then you realize after you play test, like, oh man, it's not fun, you reset everything again. But I know in movies they can't do that because there's like certain pipeline, there's a certain budget to it. But for games, yeah, things go back and forth a lot. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't understand. When they come into the game industry, they would thought like, oh, I can just design this character and then that's it, right? Like you ship it off and hope the game release, right? But no, actually a lot of time, almost 90% of the work you do, you can't show the world because they are rejected works, right? And 90% of this work, it could be some really cool ideas that you have, but they all just got rejected. It's not because you suck, it's just the product doesn't require that, right? So there's a lot of things that keep repeating over and over again. Like I think my highest record was I was working on this one particular design for 2 years, constantly changing. 2 years, change. So we thought done, and a few weeks later, we need to change again. Like, I thought a few weeks ago you wanted that, right? So there's a lot of like back and forth kind of thing for games, and I think this is something not many people know about within the game industry. So they come in thought, ha ha ha, fun, right? They're like, oh my god, no, this is not that fun.
Yeah, it happened in the animation industry as well. We're always back and forth.
Yes, but it is worth it, I would assume, because you get to see, like for film, you get to see your work on the big screen, and then for video games, you get to have millions of people, you know, like control your character or maybe interact with your characters or with the world that you created, right? Because even though animation, video games and film are like different, they're still same but different.
Yeah, correct.
So leading up to that, I have another question that I would like to like also bring up is, are there any moments, like especially for film or maybe for video games, where you've worked on an asset / scene so much where you feel like, oh, it's finally this definitely gonna happen, but it ended up being cut in the final product? If there was, how did you cope with that? With that feeling.
It happens every day. It's just like, you know, this is how every day you eat rice. Sometimes you feel that, you know, okay, this is going to happen every day. So you have to be prepared. Whoever is joining into this industry, you have to know that this always happens. The way that how I cope with it is that I always tell myself, okay, this project belongs to someone else, right? It is the director's idea. Is this project belongs to someone else? I'm trying here to be creative, but I also need to listen to their instruction. So in that way, you won't feel that whatever has been cut off from your hard work, it won't feel that you have wasted, right? Another way to make myself feel good or even feel better is that whatever I've done for the movie, all right, or any production, and it wasn't being used in the final product, but you can put it, you can think it as on a bright side. You can still use it as your own portfolio, and can use it. You do it well, right? Nobody appreciate, nobody put it on a big screen. No worries. You just receive it for yourself, and then you take it use it as your portfolio, and then look for a better job, or even do your own IP and create your own work, right? Using the skill that you learned during this journey. So there's still got a little bit of win-win situation. It won't be over. It won't be like totally is a loss. Of course, in a human emotion, of course you'll feel a bit sad that I've been worked so hard and you don't use my work. Initially, you say you're okay with my work, like what he said just now. You're okay already, right? After two years, then now you say you don't want. So it kind of like, wow, exploded. So this is everyone's emotion, all right? Because we are human, of course we will feel sad, right? But after you just sat for a few hours, right? Come back and tell yourself, all right, you have to calm down. Don't take it personal, right? This is just a job, or this is just a work, right? And this is someone's work. You are just helping them to work, right? Then you think it on the bright side, right? This work will belong to you yourself, and then in your own free time, do your own work and create something else that you feel that you're proud of yourself, and then you create an IP for yourself, right?
What about you, Siew Hong?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. Right, whatever you build is yours. They can't take it away. Even like I understand in game industry when things are scrapped, you can't show it to the public, right? But yes, those work you can't show it to anyone, but through those works, you learn a skill for yourself. And those are the things that no one can take it away from you, and you can reproduce those things again. I understand as an artist, a lot of the work we do is a form of expression. So it's very normal that we feel sad when our work wasn't be part of the product at the end of the day. But sometimes what I like to think is that if you really think about it, like if I'm an accountant, right, working on tons of accounts, if a company shut down, do you see them cry? No, they just find another client, right? So if you put it in that perspective, right, like you said, it's just a job, right? And as an artist, we need to sometimes learn when to detach it, right? To understand I'm serving a product. This is not my product, this is someone else's product. I'm being paid to do it, so I need to be professional to do what I need to do what I paid to do, in a sense. I think that's something a lot of artists should understand to a certain level.
True.
Yep, especially when you're working with so many people or then like across so many different departments. And speaking of departments, right? How do you or how do like studios, either film or video games, how do they collaborate in between like so many different types of like across different departments, like collaborative work? Like for example, for video games, there's the animation department, or maybe there's the character rigging, or maybe there's the mocap team, and for film, there could be just the special effects team, or maybe you also have to work with the director or the sound designers and everything like that. So, how do you guys really collaborate across just multiple different functions?
Usually in animation industry, we have one whole full pipeline. All right. For example, we have pre-production, and then we have a production, and then we have a post-production. Pro, and then post. So the pre-production means that it's actually starting to draw, like creating you're creating the design, right? The characters, assets, everything, right? On papers or even on 2D world, right? And then you create storyboard, you create stories, you create scripts. All these are pre-production. So once all this story is done, you move on to the next production. So in order to make sure that the quality and all the requirement that the director wanted to actually move on to be shared along the way until the end to achieve the final product, communication is very important. So that's why in all the production house, we always make sure that whichever before and your after department, right, you have to always have dailies or always have meetings, so-called meetings, right, to communicate each other, especially the director, because he is the one who knows the whole story from the beginning until the end. So he always has to involve in all the departments. He always show his face in all the departments to show that, hey, have you done whatever we have done for the assets, the characters or whatever props that we have done in a movie? We show the director, right? Is this what you want? Is this what you visualize it will look like in a 3D world, right? And then they move on to the animation, and they will also show the director, okay, I did this animation, this movement, right? Is this movement? Is this acting? Is this action? Is actually connected to what your story is about. So he will be is the main person to connect everyone, to move on, to make sure that everyone's collaborate well, right? What I meant by just now, the before and after, for example, before we do animation, we need to have the model, the 3D model, right? The 3D model cannot be animated yet. We need to pass to the department called rigging department, which is that adding the bones to the character so that it can move. Right? So the bones have been installed into the character and it will move to the animation department. So animators, before they start to animate, they need to talk to the rigging department and tell them what you need. After I testing your bones, okay, somehow when I move this arm, there's some intersection, there's some broken arms here. Then I will talk to the previous department, which is the rigging department, and tell them what we need. The facial, I need to do laughing, sad, all these things, right? They will actually also follow our so-called requests, right, to make sure that all these things can be done well. Yeah, this is how we communicate in the end. Yeah.
How about for the...
I think it's a similar thing. Communication is very vital for a production of a thing that we're gonna spend 4 or 5 years working on it, and millions and billions of dollars are poured inside, right? So communication is very, very important. You can't be the person that just sit on the desk and do your work.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think there's a slight difference in game is that things are a bit messy, or some people quite chaotic, where sometimes there is no clear pipeline who to start first. Sometimes it could just be a programmer programming a cube moving around the game, and then just play test a cube in a blank environment. And then after that, the modelers would come in like, okay, I have an idea to model this, right? Without a concept artist. Let's just start model something and then just let it move rather than just a random cube. So things will just bounce back and forth. Sometimes it could be like, okay, let's do a proxy model for the character first, and then the concept artist will come up with a visual, and then as the consultant come in with the visuals, we will pass like a rough sketch to the rigger, and then rigger is like, okay, that's how the rig is probably going to be like, you know. So everyone just kind of work on something simultaneously and hope that the prototype works. And then when it came out, we try it. It's ugly, it's very ugly. You can't show it to the public because it's just bare bone, right? Yeah. Then you're like, it's not fun. Let's try the whole thing over again.
Oh no.
There's a lot of communication within that chaotic moment of like, okay, you do that, I'm gonna do this first. Okay, you haven't do that, I'll just do something else first, right? So imagine everyone just sit on their desk and not talk to each other. Man, that prototype will never happen.
So it's a lot more messy. Like there's a lot more like bouncing back and forth compared to the film industry, where it's just like more structured.
Yeah.
It's more like, you know,
Something that the next department cannot start to work if something before the department hasn't finished yet. So we cannot move on. But we still can work simultaneously what game does, but the amount work we can to do is not much. Yeah, we can only prepare. Right, we cannot do much. Yeah.
because for video games, what I've at least to my knowledge know of video games, especially when it comes to development, is that sometimes like AAA studios like Ubisoft, EA, and all that will outsource, you know, their projects to different, you know, to different companies, like studios, to help expedite the process. How would that work? When would you have to then collaborate with the outsourced companies as well?
Yes, so you definitely have to talk to them, because and the problem with that is you can't just like, hey, can you get an update? You have to wait one night and like, oh, that's the update. Because you know, when we're working, they're sleeping. When they're sleeping, we are working, right? So that creates a more problem for the communication part. So we need to be very prepared. Like, okay, if you have questions, we need to ask immediately. We can't be like, let's wait for the perfect moment to ask. There's no such thing in the game industry. Yeah, especially when the client is in a different time zone. We just have to make sure we ask everything as we can, either during our meetings call, our overlap meetings call, or we just compile all the questions and then send it back to them and then go to sleep. Next day we hope that answer come back.
And it never comes back.
Sometimes it doesn't come, and then we're like,
You have to wait for another day.
Is there something similar in the film industry?
Yeah, it's about similar. But from our side, if it's a proper animation pipeline, we will actually require a so-called outsourced producer. Yeah, we need a person like this to handle the outsource.
So they're the liaison between.
Yes, they were liaising with our other company, right? Especially with those that is actually different time zone. Right, they will actually, their work is really, really tough because sometimes they have to communicate with a different time zone. So the producer work is really, really tough. So they have to make sure that, you know, we get the feedback and we get all the information right before our team actually can start to work. So he or she will be the middle agent, so-called agent, right, to make sure that this thing, communication will be done well before all this information and all this work can be started. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So it's like somewhat similar, but instead of the whole studio pitching together and interacting with the client, for film it's rather you just have one person to
mainly for one person to communicate first. Then they will update the whole team, and then we have an internal meeting to make sure that everyone gets the information well.
Must be stressful for the outsourced. It is very must be very.
It is very stressful.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your time. It was very eye-opening experience, and it was also a pleasure to be talking to you both. I learned a lot about the video game industry, and I learned a lot about the films industry. So once again, everyone, we have Mr. Siew Hong here and Mr. Kento, two wonderful people. Thank you very much for joining us for today's episode of Creative Webinar Series. We'll see you in the next episode.